It was Todd Blanche, the attorney for Donald Trump, that met the scorn of Judge Merchan, who I just want to read you the very specific quote after those proceedings. Quote, "You're losing all credibility. You're losing all credibility with the court. I have to tell you," the words of Judge Merchan to Donald Trump's attorney.
And that is pretty strong when a judge is saying, now granted, the jury was not there, bear that in mind, the jury isn't hearing this, but repeatedly stating that Trump's lawyer is losing credibility. That is strong. He went on to say, "You've presented nothing." That's what the judge said. Now, the lawyer did talk a lot. His arguments just had very little to do with the law, and we want to give you some more details.
Todd Blanche was struggling to respond to two specific points in his defense of Donald Trump's social media posts. Number one, for those that were in the words of Donald Trump, he was saying that his client was simply responding to attacks against him from the likes of Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen. But when Judge Merchan asked, "Name me specifically which posts those were," Todd Blanche was unable to give specifics. In the second one were multiple reposts on his True Social account, and Todd Blanche was not able to specifically answer whether Donald Trump was in fact endorsing those, other than saying that they were not actual statements by Donald Trump. And now, for history's sake, number one, the prosecution said, look, Donald Trump has boasted in the past about how many people read his posts on social media, including on True Social. And I actually went back to the archives. In 2015, Donald Trump was asked specifically whether his retweets equaled endorsements. And he said, quote, "Well, I do retweets, and I mean to a certain extent I do, yeah. I think that's right. Do you want me to say no? You know, I retweet for a reason."
And I think that we can fully understand what the reasons are in this particular case. Brian, I want to go to you. We understand psychologically why he has to do this and why, because of how small he is, this has to become such a big part of this trial. But it really just does feel like, how does he not have anyone around him that can stop him from continually undercutting himself at every opportunity?
Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the damage report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you.
I think those people are around him. And when they open their mouths to try to lasso him or control him, they wind up getting fired. I think the gravy train is probably a nice place to be in the Trump world because of all the money that's there. So if you're a lawyer, you're making a lot of bank. You're not going to stay in your job if you criticize him. I think there is an ash heap of people who, during his presidency, who tried to control him and stop him and tried to edit him live, and he fired them and then spoke badly of them. He's uncontrollable, yeah, I think that you're kind of screwed if you're trying to keep him quiet. I mean, that's the irony of a gag order, like trying to gag him, trying to stop him. He'll stop at nothing other than being in jail without a computer and a phone.
Yeah, being stuck off like in the Arctic or something without a cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like
do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a heroin addict or someone who is an alcoholic. Like they're never going to really. If you keep giving them the booze or the heroin, they're never going to stop. But like friends of mine who've been addicts, they've always said, like, you know, the only thing that got me to quit was going to jail.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
maybe that'll help him.
He's addicted to himself, his narcissism. So he has to keep that flame burning hot, and his ego running hot.
So addicted that when he was banned from Twitter for trying to overthrow the government, he created his own social media site. So he would always be able to post whatever he wants. And I often wonder, for people like him and people like Elon Musk, who can't go 7 seconds without posting on social media, like imagine what they could accomplish perhaps if they didn't do that. Like Trump could, I don't know, like spend time with his family. He has a bunch of kids. I know that he often forgets that, but like he could theoretically spend some time with them. He could campaign. He could come up with a policy or something. Like there are things they could do, but instead he continually, again, we've been through multiple rounds of the gag order. And despite that, he violates it every single day. On True Social, in his press conferences, he has done that in the last 24 hours. He has done that multiple times, not just since the gag order was clarified yet again, but since the prosecution last week said that they want him to be censured, fined, and if he keeps violating it, go to prison for contempt over it. He just keeps doing it over and over and over again. And I would say, and you've covered more trials than me, no one in American history has been granted as much opportunity to do what he is doing as he is right now. And even that isn't enough for Fox News and his defenders, who would argue that this is a violation of his First Amendment rights. Anyone else in America would have already been locked up over these violations, but not Donald Trump. That said, we will find out later on today. I think we're expecting the judge to potentially rule on this, so fingers crossed. Again, they're not gonna lock him up based on the violations he's already done. All the prosecution has asked for is $1,000 for each violation, which for a billionaire is nothing. It doesn't matter at all. And a warning that if he continues to violate it, then he could be found in contempt and possibly go to jail. So we will see. The judge has been strong in some aspects of this case so far, but that is a line that I don't think he wants to cross, and Trump is really sort of like forcing him into a corner here. So we'll see what happens. Any final thoughts on the trial before we move on?
No, I agree with you. I think they'll probably fine him for these things. It'll amount to like $7,000 or something like that. But the question is, what happens next?
Yeah, nothing. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?